Yes, my name is Ryan Wilton Pelletier. I'm from Muscogin Reservation. Also, my heritage is Lakota Sioux, Cree, French, and Ukrainian. Um, and I'm the second oldest of my siblings. Um, and I've accepted a lot in life and learned a lot in life, and I'm here to share as much as I can to help the next generation as well. I believe this is very important, and I actually been praying about something like this many years ago. Very grateful, Karen, and you for allowing me to take part.
So, with your walk and your journey, Ryan, uh, how did it start? Like, what motivated you to, because we all have, like I said before, we have generational effects, right?
Yeah.
And every person is different. Every person moves in a different way. What was your first um, journey that you started? How did you start?
Well, unfortunately for me, and like a lot of our First Nations men and women, my journey started within a TP Mazda, which is prison. Um, I spent 19 years in a federal institution. Um, and yeah, I began, I'd say, in about 2005. Prior to that, I was a gang member. I was a part of the generational trauma approach to call it. So, you know, in order to understand me now, you'd have to understand me back 20 some years ago, right? And where I first started, right? And the work that it took to get me to this point in life, becoming, a Sundancer, pipe carrier, song keeper, and all these other beautiful things that our people have. It took years of discipline, years of work, um, both for myself and my elders. I had a lot of elders in my life, um, coming and going, sharing their experiences, their teachings, their methods to living life to the best and to the fullest. So a lot of prayer, a lot of ceremony, and uh, letting go of that old self. Right? Um, Unfortunately for me and like a lot of our young people, I grew up in an abusive structure. I went through quite a bit as a young person growing up. And unfortunately, where I come from, it's a pattern. It was a pattern that we went through as young people. The physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and sexual abuse that came with all of that stuff. Was a buildup of things, right? So uh, one extreme led to the next extreme, right? It wasn't just you go from 0 to 60. It was a progression of behavior, breakdown
Yeah.
behavior. So to get to where I was, to get to where I am today, I had to revisit those old memories. I had to go through them, right? I had to face them and talk about them, right? You know, for anybody that's in recovery or on recovery, facing yourself is one of the most difficult and challenging things that you could ever do in your life. So I did that. Um, I took a chance. That's what I did. I decided that there was something more.
Hmm.
There had to be something more here for me, right? And it took one ceremony. Um, and I remember it was really a question I had. I was sitting in my room in a segregation, um, for something that I did, um, as a part of my gang affiliation. I sat there and I was questioning myself, and I've never done that before. I've always done things, just did them. Right? I've never did anything good, or never good thoughts never really came to me. I was just sitting there one day and just asked myself, what am I doing? What's going on? And it was probably one of the darkest times of my life, right? Because I was waiting to go to a higher security for um, assaulting another inmate.
Yeah.
as a result of the gang. Right.
With the situation you were in, what hurdles did you have to take to get to where you were today? Would you say uh, more cultural, or was it like what helped you?
The cultural component was essential in my recovery and in my day-to-day lifestyle that I am today. Like it was ceremony. It was another person believing that I was something more than I wasn't, but just really helping me to get to that point, right? Like helping me to see that myself because I had a hard time seeing the person in the mirror, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
So it was actually a sweat lodge ceremony that changed my life. But yeah, something just lit, inside. It just happened, right? I just asked for help is what I did.
yeah,
I took a chance and asked for help. And
yeah.
my elders obviously, were more than willing to be there for me.
So would you say that your the, your cultural teaching helped you bounce back?
My cultural teaching really did, yes, it played integral role in my life. It really did. It saved my life.
Yeah,
You know, it gave me purpose. It kind of ignited something inside again, that was there before, but was put out because of what I went through in life.
yeah.
So yeah,
What would you say? What actions really helped you? Like your turning point?
what actions? Talking to somebody, I had a lot of anger inside of me, like that. I had a
Hmm.
lot of resentment, I had a lot of fear, and sitting down with an elder one day and just kind of slowly letting it out, piece by piece, and him listening or her listening, right? Because I had an assortment of elders in my life, both male and female, you know. So it was that talking, that really helped me, um, sharing the things that I experienced in life, because it's they tell you to you don't talk about those things, that's what you're taught growing up, right? So you're essentially breaking that code, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And that was taught in our people, from day one to going to residential school, and it took, I believe culture is changed quite a few people's lives, right? Because we got that gift given back to us.
Yeah, we did along the lines this that happened. Obviously, residential school and colonization really played a role in how we are and how we were brought up. Um, but it was the programs too, so there's Aboriginal programs out there that really help um, First Nations people regain their identity, through ceremony and through understanding what happened in the past, because we don't know what happened. They don't teach these things in school, right? They don't
Yeah,
teach these things in the history books, back when I was growing up, right? I remember looking in a dictionary because it was called Indian. It always said the same thing, savage, right? So I never understood um, why we were called these things, right? Or what. So I just went with it, right? I didn't really care. But yeah, you don't hear about what happened in residential schools, to our women and children, or to our aunts and uncles, our relatives, right? You know, as in the recent events, we just found out, what actually happened. It's horrific. You know,
yeah,
and in some ways, I just really feel that it did bring our people together. Because I just attended a 215 ceremony where we honored our our, our loved ones.
yeah,
It was powerful. It was powerful because I the first time I got to set foot on that land, it was hard because I can feel the energy there, right? I can envision the children running around. I can see those things. It brought tears to my eyes because for the first time, I understood. I understood. What it must have been like. Even though I was in prison. That's another form of residential school, right?
oh yeah, oh yeah,
But
definitely.
you look at these places, right, and you think of everything they experienced and why our family members are the way they are. Why it's so hard for them to let go.
Is there any setbacks that you've had to overcome through your walk?
Absolutely, like no walk is without its slips and falls, right? So obviously, in the beginning, I had a hard time really trying to maintain who I was striving to become. Like I said, it's unfortunate, but there are brothers and sisters that really don't want the healing. They don't want to move forward, right? Because they're so stuck in that hurt. So a lot of times they just want somebody with them. They don't, when they see somebody moving forward, it's almost like a negative thing for them. And so I had to like let go a lot of my friends, and I still loved them, but I had to move past that. I had to, allow the ridicule to take place, because once you pick up your feather, you become an enemy, in these places. And it's not anybody's fault, but just the way that their minds are. So when I finally got out, what ended up happening is I ended up sundancing. And, I prepared for this and did my part. And so when I sundanced, I got that much more closer to my higher power. Um, it was then, that I realized, that the only thing that mattered was me moving forward.
Get the cone off.
At that point, I was granted day parole. They let me
Baby,
catch myself out in the community after 19 years, and it was tough. I had a lot of stress, a lot of fear, a lot of memory. So I ended up I relapsed. Right, I ended up having a relapse. Um, I didn't know. I just thought it was normal. I thought people make mistakes all the time, but really what it was my fear of living out there. My fear of other people, because I was so used to being around just a certain few, right? And finally, I had enough. My elder says, Ryan, he says, you have so much potential. He says, you have so much love inside of you that because you harbored it all these years, you have so much love. He said, some point in time, you're going to burst. You're just going to let it out, and people are going to see that, and they're going to want to be around you all the time. I just accepted that for what it was. I just accepted it. And
Do you ever feel that, I know that we're on our journey, our healing journey, and it's a daily process. How would you cope? Like, say, if you're getting way too much coming in, like, the negative or whatever, how would you release so that you're walking in a way?
well, me personally, I do have elders. I love to talk to them, and I love to let them know what's going on, right? Whether it be just a friend that's also walking the same path, it just takes one person to listen, right? That's what I found. It's just that one person willing to sit there and bend the ear for you, right? And really be there for you, and really attach that spiritual component, because I wouldn't be here in this free world, if it wasn't for that spiritual part. Whenever you're dealing with trauma or anything else, you need that spiritual component, because they always talk about the mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual, right? And if you're only working on the mental and the emotional, right, you're lacking other things. And that's so true. I really believe that. I really found that to be the truth, because, I've done a lot of programs, and there was no smudging, no nothing like that, or any way to take care of your spiritual component, right? And that's where I think the system failed, right? Was not recognizing that. But, because I've done that, I actually go into programs where we do let us release, smudge, take care of ourselves, right? Holistically. Right?
Yep,
That to me
definitely.
was the key. That to me was the key, right? That was the key for me moving forward, was that that spiritual component was attached to that treatment, right? Because you can teach drug, alcohol addiction, all these other things, but there has to be that spiritual component attached to that, right? Otherwise, it just doesn't work, right? The wheel's broken, and that to me is so important. You know, yeah.
That's really good. Yeah, thank you. 100% of our people we're part of the system, right? In the jails, in foster homes, and 60 scoop and all that. Like, where do you think we went wrong in did we go wrong? And and addictions and poverty, like where what happened, do you think, in your opinion?
I think honestly, what happened was, is, I spoke to an elder one time, and I kind of asked this question myself, and he put a lot of perspective into it for me, and um, he basically gave me a breakdown of our society back when we were a society, and a people that we were nomadic, right? We changed, we moved according to the seasons, according to these things, right? And, one of our greatest um, assets is people's First Nations people is that we were able to adapt to our surroundings. Right? We were so accustomed to that we knew the resources, and we became the resources, right? So that was who we were. And so um, where we went wrong is we adapted too quickly, I believe, to the want and needs of the government, of the non-natives. Um, we wanted to be like them too much. Right? I think that was where we went wrong, because we did not, you know, um, we did not use drugs and alcohol. We didn't do those things, right? Because we just didn't. Right? It wasn't our way of life. We didn't need that. We didn't. We The only thing we had was water and whatever the Creator and or the Mother Earth provided. That's what we lived on. Right? That was our life. And we were forced um, to pick up these new things, and and unfortunately for us, that what we did is we went beyond that. We went beyond that, and it's and today you can see it. It's still affecting our children. It's still affecting our relatives, our brothers and sisters, right? Because they're still on the street struggling, right? And I think
Oh
when
yeah,
we
definitely. Like it's nonstop. What do you think we can do as First Nations people to overcome all this?
I think we're doing it. I really believe that. With all my heart. I really believe that. From where I've been and to where I am now. I believe that our culture and our way of life works. It always has. It just wasn't used enough. It wasn't allowed to be used, right? But now, we're thriving. We're going. We're standing up for ourselves. We're actually, we're doing our jobs. That the Creator gave us to protect the earth, right? So I think that involving ourselves in those peaceful protests, those peaceful things, even a prayer, right? I think that's what we're doing, and it's moving. There's a wheel. It's a wheel. And it keeps moving, right? And we're building the momentum. I feel, right, because I see a lot of more people wanting change. I see a lot of my brothers and sisters, in ceremony that I seen back in the day when I was in prison with them, right? And they're doing the same thing as I'm doing, right? They're allowing themselves to heal. Right? And I think it's our responsibility to remind the people, that they're loved, to always push that positive energy out, right? Because maybe they've never heard it enough. I know I
Yeah,
didn't. I was a baptized Christian, right, when I was younger, and
yeah.
I always, I read the Bible once or twice, and I just, for me, it just there was too many question marks, right? Like I was like, well, where are all the native? Like, why isn't there any stories about native? Or I'd always question. That was one of my big things. I always question, right? Um, finding who I was, right? This is who it was, right? Finding out my people and how beautiful and what we lived and how we lived, right? That was my story right there, right? Like I'm here
Yeah.
because what my people did. We've been through so much, and we're gonna keep going through that, But the fact remains is that we're still here, and we're still here. You start talking about that, the doors open.
What do you do? Like, say if you had a day where it just seems that total day reminds you of your past.
Well, I identify right away, right? Like, because I'm kind of getting to that point now where I can start seeing things. And I carry myself in a way um, that kind of stops people from coming into my life that shouldn't be there.
Okay.
So, but I do see things like that do trigger me, right? Like I see and smell, like drugs or the alcohol scent, or And when that happens, I honestly just close my eyes, and the first thing I think about is my daughter. The first thing I think about is my medicine, my bundle, the things I carry, right? And I start smiling, right? Because I know that those things are real,
Hmm.
right? It's what's not real is the drugs and alcohol, right? Those that's not real. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's what real that matters, and you know that's what saves me a lot of times. It's just thinking about my daughter and my grandchildren.
So what message would you have for the future generation?
Um, it's important to understand who you are. Get to know yourself. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for that help. And don't always think you're alone. You know, reach out. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Immerse yourself in culture. Immerse yourself around good people. And as best as you can. Seek out ceremony. And for the parents of these children, give them that opportunity to do something that we didn't do, that we didn't do for our children.
Yeah.
So give them that, and to know that there's more to life than violence and crime, than hurting your own people, than hurting anybody, including yourself. That in this lifetime, there is nothing greater than love, and to love yourself, not to be afraid to love yourself, right? They say there's a Washichu word. It's called what's it called again? Um, Conceited. It's not conceited to look yourself in the mirror and to say I love you. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But to get out and be with the nature. It's not always about video games and stuff like that. Go out and go for a walk. Because I know when I was growing up, we didn't have video games, right? And we didn't come home till like 1 in the morning. But yeah, get out and get out into the bush and disconnect. From this. Go and reconnect.
Yeah.
But yeah, never give up. That's what I'd like to say to the younger generation. Don't give up and don't be afraid to learn new things.
Well, that is awesome. That is really good teachings. And, I appreciate the growth that I've seen in you and the change. You've come a long way, and I can see the change daily, just watching your videos and your posts and whatnot. And appreciate your time and effort here. Um, and hope to talk to you again soon. But I appreciate it. And do you have any other words of wisdom, or would you like to say a prayer before we leave?
I'd love to share a prayer. I'll do it in my language. So, first of all, it's important to introduce myself. My name is Wambly Shante Omani, which means one who carries the eagle's spirit. It's the name I was given when I was 15. Nakashla Wakandaka Ambetide Wachi Unkiyapta Makatakia Ahetawa Ka Wishi Uda Oyateke Kati Wahe Ka Wachi Unkiyapi Han Hechatayan Ni Umta. All my relations.
All my relations. Thank you.